Hello everybody, Tracy Sizemore here, RPG A Day 2018, Day 18. And the question for the day is describe what art inspires your game, what art inspires your game. I'm going to resist going too deep into this because I feel like, to a certain degree, me talking about my gaming and just this entire month and the way these questions are, and the questions are great. It's given me the opportunity to explore some of the reasons behind why I do things, right? And I'm an analytical thinker, and I enjoy delving into the whys and interested in knowing how I and other people tick. But this question, I could go off for an hour on what art inspires me and why it inspires me and how I engage with that art in order to extract what I want from it. But I feel like over the course of this exercise, I might have, some of my opinions that I express. It's not that I haven't thought them through, because I have. It's just that by expressing an opinion, other people are going to interpret that opinion differently. And I don't know, I feel like in some ways I may have been misrepresenting myself a little. I don't know. Like not telling the whole story or giving the whole picture. I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know why I'm worried about that and why I'm thinking about it, but I don't know. Anyway, the short, relatively, of course, short is relative for me, but the short relative answer is art that inspires me tends, and not always, but tends to be art that illustrates the coming together of people to do something. Look what we can do together, right? And in that sense, I enjoy movies and books and music and television and all those media that tend to tell a story involving people working together toward a goal. People becoming emotionally vulnerable and gaining strength through that vulnerability. Those are the kinds of things that I tend to gravitate toward and that I find inspiration in creating my games or playing my characters or inhabiting my NPCs or whatever. Included among those are things like Anne of Green Gables, right? Both the old one and the new one. It's low stakes stories, those are low stakes stories, but they feel high stakes because of the emotional content involved and the vulnerability involved in the characters, And yet, these people work together, for the most part, and work to overcome things that seem a little bit more real, meaning what most people face, what most humans face in their lives, the troubles that most of them face. They work together to overcome them. It's not necessarily about defeating a bad guy, although sometimes it is. But it's more about overcoming your own inadequacies, or your own fears, or your own problems, and gaining strength through vulnerability. Another one is Gilmore Girls, right? Another example is, it's no secret at this point that I'm a big K-pop fan. you wonder, right? You ask, well, what the hell, how does K-pop inspire your gaming? Well, I'll tell you. Because there's many, many reasons I like K-pop, and I could go on and on, but one of the reasons is a look what we can do together. Because K-pop is an amalgam of people, a lot of people, who really know what they're doing, working together to create something that they would not be able to do on their own. And it's a super polished product. It includes amazing dancing, phenomenal costumes, amazing makeup, songs that are collaboratively invented by many people and pieced together, and it's a true collaboration with the label and the songwriters and the rap person they bring in to add something to it, the EDM person they bring in to add something to the song. K-pop is a collaborative effort on a fundamental level. And so when you see the final product, the final polished, amazing product that it represents, and you can feel the way you want to feel about it, but combined with the artists who are presenting it, the idols themselves, who are dancing and singing this stuff, and having that interaction with the audience, which is part of it as well. There's something greater in the sum of its parts than in the individual parts alone, and that inspires me as a game designer. So I don't know, individual influences or specific influences on like my sci-fi Han cluster game include Larry Niven's books of Known Space, if you're familiar with those, and the new Battlestar Galactica, and not in the way you'd think, right? The new Battlestar Galactica is influential to me because of the Cylons. Because what if there were machines that were indistinguishable from humans? And I take that in a different direction. But they did it in a beautiful way, especially early on in the series, and it was intriguing and fascinating, and I want to go explore that some more. So that's an influence. And yeah, again, it's a fundamentally human influence. So that's where I get my inspiration. And one other thing I want to mention is off the track, right? This is sort of separate, but I just want to mention it because of this question. One of my groups played recently, well, not recently, but last year or two or so, played through Necessary Evil Breakout, which is a sequel to the Necessary Evil campaign, where you're playing supervillains that are stuck. Now, in the original, you're playing supervillains and all the superheroes have been killed or wiped out by the alien force that's coming to invade Earth. And so all that's left are the supervillains. And so the supervillains decide to get together and fight off the alien menace because, we can't have those guys. And so that's a fun premise. Necessary Evil Breakout is you're playing basically in the same time, but in this case you're dropped into the middle of New York, and it's basically a huge cage where you can't get out, and the whole point of the adventure is the campaign is to try to get out of New York. It was fun, but one of our characters, the reason I'm mentioning is one of our characters, and it wasn't me, I played a terrifying version of like Harlequin with actual powers. She had mind control powers. She was kind of insane, and it was a lot of fun. But one of my friends played a guy who could influence people with either making them feel really good or really bad. And he could do it in an area effect around him. And I don't need to say any more except that one of the, not inspirations, but perfect representations of that character is in a music video that my friend Daryl Hayhurst found for us. And that music video is Staat's Witch Doctor. And I'm going to link it below in the description of the YouTube video, and I'll put it on my Facebook page. That was a perfect representation in art form of a character in a game that we played. And it worked for me too, because there's that look what we can do together moment on a meta level in that video. When you watch that video, there's a lot of CGI tricks that are happening, but there's also a human connection happening. And that inspires me. There's something about that that speaks to me inside. So, I don't know. It's a crazy video. It's very cool. It's surprising. And if you haven't seen it yet, you really should just watch it. It's only like 3 or 4 minutes, but it's something that's hard for me to forget. Okay. Anyway, I'll stop there and I'll talk to you tomorrow.